Now, I know every man and his dog's done a video about 1987's Predator, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, the legendary 80s action movie, but this is a bit of a slightly different take on the subject, a hot take on the subject, if you will, while I'm out enjoying a walk. I'd like to talk about the globalist military-industrial complex, probably working on behalf of some big evil private equity firm, and definitely working on behalf of one of those mysterious evil alphabet agencies in this movie. And Arnie and his mates might play the victim, but they really aren't good guys by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I would describe them as see you next Tuesdays, whereas the Predator is unfairly and much maligned in this movie. But when you think about it, the Predator comes from a planet of peace, where predators don't kill one another over oil or religion or good old-fashioned greed or anything like that. These are noble hunters, probably the most noble hunters of all. They actually make sure their prey has a fighting chance with the most sophisticated weaponry their planet has to offer, whether it's M16s or Heckler and Kochs or even miniguns. But then you have the mercenaries, you have Dylan, Dutch, Blaine, Sonny Landham, and all their other mates. And these guys are real pieces of work, in my opinion. They're real see you next Tuesdays. I mean, for starters, they're invading a sovereign nation with no UN backing, or even the backing of Ronald Reagan, who was the president at the time. He knew nothing about Arnold's secret mission or Dutch's secret mission. They're going in as part of a covert operation put together by alphabet organisation stooge Carl Weathers. Typical destabilisation of foreign nations nonsense by these alphabet organisations. And if they're going into this innocent, nondescript South American sovereign nation at breakfast, you can bet they're going to drop into Cuba to assassinate Fidel Castro by lunchtime. So what do we even know about these rebels that Arnie and his mates massacre and annihilate early on in the movie? They don't seem particularly prosperous, particularly privileged, particularly well-trained, or particularly good shots. So you tell me, are these more likely a militia of textbook terrorists, or are they indigenous freedom fighters forced off their land to make way for cobalt mining or something like that? I mean, rumour has it that this whole mission was bankrolled by Bill Gates or George Soros. And the entire movie was filmed by Jeffrey Epstein's cinematographer. It is in fact a found footage movie. At least that's what Grok told me. Now, I know what you're thinking. Arnold and his mates, they were just following orders. They were being manipulated by their superiors. But that didn't work for Hermann Goering's at Nuremberg. Didn't work for Hermann Goering's twink lover at Nuremberg. And it's not going to work for Arnold and his men, in my opinion. And I haven't even gotten into the minor microaggressions yet of this mercenary team. For all you woke people out there, you'll be loving this. Arnold and Carl Weathers are textbook examples of toxic masculinity. Even their social interactions rely solely on feats of strength, like trying to crush each other's hands at the start of the movie. Same goes for Blaine. And he also has no respect for anyone's personal space. And then we have Hawkins. Hawkins is a bit of a HR nightmare with his constant dirty jokes. And more heinous still, the jokes aren't even good or funny. And then you have Billy, played by Sonny Landham. Billy's sold out his own people to the deep state and private equity firms, as evidenced by this film. But he still keeps up this lame cultural pretense of being cultural. So he's a bit of a sellout and a hypocrite in this movie. And all the others, well, they're just going along with it all, which is perhaps the greatest injustice of all. So these people aren't heroes by any stretch. They aren't victims, far from. They're also environmental vandals, and they never miss an opportunity to defoliate with a minigun or to be cruel to animals, whether it's a scorpion or a spider or whatever. So in my opinion, this entire group of mercenaries from Predator are indeed see you next Tuesdays. Even when Arnold kills the Predator at the end, it's basically the equivalent of maiming a 70-year-old saltwater crocodile that has more right to be at Carl's Crossing than you do, just so you can crack a tinny and throw a line in waist-deep water. There's nothing heroic about that. So I hope that I've exposed Dutch, Dylan, Blaine, Billy, Hawkins and the others for the scumbags that they are. These men aren't patriots by any stretch. They are globalist military industrial complex mercenaries working for private equity firms and alphabet organisations who've tainted and tarnished the glory of the uniforms that they wear with stolen valour. And as for the Predator's a misunderstood noble savage and he just needs some love. Everything he does in this movie is basically a scream for help. So that is my take on 1987's Predator, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers. I thought you might enjoy something different to yet another listicle video or yet another obvious meanings of Predator video, like everyone else does. Just a bit of a little different take on a favourite movie from the 80s, or a movie that was a favourite movie from the 80s till I revisited it recently. And I did realise how evil the mercenary protagonists are. I mean, they're all about regime change. They're all about stealing minerals. They're all about displacing Indigenous people. So whether you're woke or not woke, that stuff just doesn't fly, in my opinion. So basically no sympathy for these guys getting skinned alive and hung upside down. And the Green Berets, well, they're a different situation. Maybe they're a little bit less guilty, but at any rate, they're probably a bit more noble than Arnold and his mates, because at least the Green Berets were doing it on orders. Arnold and his mates are doing it purely for money. And money is the root of all evil, as we know, especially in an 80s action movie. So, yeah, that's about all I've got on Predator. The Predator would be stalking me right now, I believe, if I were armed. But fortunately, I'm not armed. And as we all know, the Predator is a noble creature who doesn't harm anyone who isn't packing heat. So I'm off to enjoy the rest of my bushwalk in this glorious place, the rest of my evening before it gets dark. And I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you'd like to see more of my content and let me know how my YouTube driving's going, please like, share, subscribe and comment. It all helps the channel. And I hope to see you next time.